Wilderness is a safari operator with camps and lodges across southern Africa, and it's also a transfers business.
Yes, that's the Cephalana or whatever it is. When I say transfers, they actually have the little fleet of aeroplanes that pick you up at OR Tambo and fly you directly into the Okavango swamps and that kind of thing. You know, those little 10, 12-seater planes, that's part of the business too.
Market cap is 1.6 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 15.9, dividend yield here of 3%. And of course, we are bringing the conversation home now and talking about the South African stocks in this space. Do you pay attention to wilderness?
No, certainly. I love nature. Remember, I'm a farmer, so when you're staying out there, it's beautiful. But I think if the integration of SADC in particular does happen, and some of the problems we're having in Mozambique in terms of the instability, I think they could do very well. Remember, we had the Grand National Park that will join Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Mozambique there. So certainly, I think there's massive scope in terms of people going through and using, the transfer processes to be able to move from one country to another. You jump onto your buses, you jump onto all the services they provide.
Let's look at the share price graph, Paul. I think that would be
remember this one is listed
also
in Botswana and reports its results in Pula, which is interesting.
Doesn't look as though it's too liquid.
Yeah, it's not all that liquid. The shareholders are basically private individuals. The founder shareholder behind the Puma sports brand company, a German, the Dasslers were involved. The anchor shareholder, though, has changed. The 35% holding is through the company we're going to talk about next, which is Cullinan. So Cullinan, through the family that controls Cullinan, the Tolman family, they've kind of been sneaking up on Wilderness.
So you could look at a situation down the line where Wilderness potentially delists and Cullinan will be your primary play.
Although it seems under the current management of Keith Vincent, there's also been some management changes. Remember the core business, I got carried away talking about the little aeroplanes. The core business is the little lodges, right? And when I say little lodges, many of them are sort of environmentally very sensitive. They're tainted camps that get removed after a couple of years, so there's not too much impact. They have a high price tag, but they have, superb facilities, life-changing experiences. They
so
say
this will
to
appeal
go
to the farmer in you and your love for nature, Joseph.
Certainly. I think even if you go to Namibia, you certainly see a lot of them in terms of presence. I mean, I was in Namibia last week.
One of their most famous lodges are the ones at Sossusvlei where the big dunes are.
100%. All you see the Toyotas in Namibia. So certainly I think it's a hive of activity there.
Would you call it hot, even with the lack of liquidity?
Well, I mean, if the price is up 26% this year, so done very well, but certainly you do not know how much was the volume there in terms of liquidity. If you get your hands on it, and I think it could be a very nice sticky share to have.
Hot, Paul?
It's suffered from a bit of earnings volatility over the years, and some of that has been circumstances out of their control. Like 2 years ago, terrible, Ebola. People were cancelling trips even though their lodges are half the world away from where the Ebola outbreaks were concentrated in West Africa.
And the point that Joseph made, the stock is up 26% year to date?
On limited liquidity. So I'm going to go with not hot. It's also a fairly small business. I mean, what did you say the market cap was? Like
1.6 billion. 1.6 billion rand.
Yeah, so I'll pass on that. Nice business, but I think as an investment, a little bit tricky.